Welcome back, ladies. It's good to have you here again. Today we're going to talk about the Elemental Feminine Workshop. So what is the Elemental Feminine Workshop?
The Elemental Feminine Workshop is a workshop just for women, and it's for women 18 years of age and older. And it's a very experiential workshop that Suzanne and I put together. This workshop is generally over the course of an entire weekend. And what we do is we keep it relatively small, up to about 30 women. And it's a workshop where we really engage in the concept of feminine energy, where we engage in the concept of cultivating sides of ourselves that we don't normally either allow ourselves to cultivate out in our normal life, or we're maybe a little hesitant to cultivate out in our lives. So I think a good example might be if I'm in relationship with my partner and I start to discover that perhaps my partner wants a feminine that is a bit more bubbly, perhaps, maybe a bit more Marilyn Monroe-esque. And perhaps that's not my innate energy. It's not somewhere I prefer to go. It's not somewhere I even have a clue where to go. And so I can work with other women, and just by even observing other women, start to understand, what does that look like? What does that mean? What does that look like moving through my own body? Because obviously it's going to look different in my body than another woman's body. And that's not to make it sound like this workshop is solely for the purpose of bringing something to our partners that they need. It's also, cultivating something in my life that I may need. So if I need to learn to be more nurturing, either to myself or to family or just, to friends, that's somewhere where I can start to cultivate the feminine aspect of being more nurturing. So it's a weekend where you get to drop into your feminine, you get to push into areas you don't normally push into. You get to start to discover maybe the aspects that are keeping you from pushing into those areas, which is always interesting. And you also get to witness other women pushing against their edges, pushing into places where they're a bit more challenged. And it's always so informative to watch other women as they go through their process, because what I've always noticed about these workshops is you get 30 women in a room who may not know each other at all, and the processes and what they're going through and where they're trying to go actually meld and become very similar. And so it's always interesting to have all of these strangers essentially, and at the end of it all, everyone is really helping each other and adding a piece to what each woman needs.
I think the Elemental Feminine Workshop for me is a fundamental workshop if you are a woman in a spiritual practice trying to move towards the deepest spiritual practice possible. I think that the feminine spiritual practice is related to archetypes and moving through archetypes. We call it the elemental feminine because, it is about all the elements. It's like fire, earth, air, water, but we're also talking about the elements of emotions and the different emotional depths and places. And I think as women, we have a fear of expressing, say, anger in our intimacy, but there are moments that anger is a really helpful thing when it's used constructively. And so this workshop gives you permission to kind of dive into these elements. And what Jenny and I are amazing at is having a construct, a container, so to speak. But then we feel into the women, and we feel into what these women need in order to open up and grow. Where is their edge? Where are they resisting? What are they afraid of? And then to create such a safe container that they actually get to move into that and feel into that. And like Jenny said, women are so informed by other women. And, when you see another woman working on an archetype, like every woman's issue is every woman's issue. So when one woman hits a bump, every woman feels that they have that bump too. And as that woman works through that bump, all the women heal in response to that. So the Elemental Feminine also is, there's all these amazing books out right now that are related to archetypes, that within us we have an inner prostitute, we have an inner dominatrix, we have an inner lover, we have an inner fearful side, we have an inner child, we have an inner adult. And yet we have in our society that women are supposed to be quiet and they're not supposed to say things. And in the feminine, that is very constrictive and it makes women feel very, very tight on the inside. So what we try to do is create a space that you get to explore those places that are naturally feminine. Every woman is all the archetypes. Every woman is every woman's feelings and emotions. And as you play with these energies and you learn to love them and accept them and embody them, they become less fear-based and they become more fluid. And the whole idea is to allow the fluidity of the feminine to move through you. And when you do that, you become a happier person.